So you were wondering, tick charts, how do they, like, what do they tell me? Why do I use them? What do they tell me? So let me just show you. What I'm going to do is something way different than what I'd usually do. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a new chart, but it's going to be a 1 minute chart. Okay. So when you zoom out and look at a 1 minute chart, this is what it looks like. And the price, the market opened where this yellow line is, right? So this is all pre-market activity right here. So you kind of have like this like slow grind up, and then it ends up moving up aggressively and then coming down. And let me zoom out real quick. So if I zoom out and I look at this, all it really looks like is a really impulsive move up, and then a little small correction, and then an impulsive move down, and then this little channel, and then it goes over. Now let's go over to the tick chart. Now if we go over to the 2000 tick chart, it's much different, because in the pre-market right here where the overnight started, you can see that in the overnight we only have the first bar to where we opened. There's only 46 bars right there, right? Before the market opened, 46 bars. Whereas in here, in the pre-market, you're going to have however many bars there are in terms of minutes all the way over. So you're going to have almost 1,000 bars, 929 bars, 929 minutes worth of data is how that works. So the problem is there's not a lot of trades happening in that time frame, right? So when I go back over to the 1 minute, every single bar in here, if I zoom in, is going to print no matter what. And it's going to look all choppy like this. There's a bunch of gaps and weird stuff going on. And it's because there's hardly anybody trading in that session. So there's really no volume of orders in there. You're going to get weird fills. There's just not a lot of price action happening. The tick chart, every single bar has to have 2,000 transactions for the bar to print. And so when I look at these and I zoom in, like this bar printed at 1848 was the timestamp, right? 1848 and 34 seconds. The next bar printed at 1909. So there's, literally over 20 minutes in between these two bars. There's 21 minutes right there to get 2,000 trades that happened. So what that tells, it helps me understand the overall price action, because I know that the volume itself is low, the actual volume of people transacting. Now, when these bars start printing faster, like right here, this bar printed at 6:33, this one printed at 6:33 and 45 seconds, this one was at 6:34 and 23 seconds. These bars are printing faster than a minute. They basically start printing at about 30-35 seconds a piece. They fluctuate. So that gives me some information on the speed at which they're printing is the speed at which people are transacting. It gives me more confidence in the moves. So that helps. Also, by doing this, I remove a lot of the unwanted noise, because trying to figure out and make sense of this 1 minute chart when you're way back here where there's all this low volume activity that really boils down to just a few bars on my chart, that is way better, because now I can just catch the two major swings of actual significant transaction volume. So that's one thing. Another thing is, let's zoom in on a few of the trades, right? So here's a few of the trades that I marked. I got a first entry long here, second entry long here, higher low after second entry long, second entry short. So these are 4 of the trades today. I'm just going to look at 4 of these to show this. Now, if I go to the 1 minute chart and I find those same spots where I plotted the trades, and it should line up. 645. Yeah. Okay. So I think they line up in the right spot. Let me just double check. 716. They're sort of off very slightly just because it's a different chart. So if I was trading on the 1 minute chart, I would probably have some sort of a really steep trend line drawn. Maybe like this. In which case I wouldn't actually have a trade set up here, because there's not really a very good spike in channel formed there. There's not, I mean, I guess Nope, that doesn't even fit. You could draw this maybe like a spike and channel, something like this. So you might get this one. So on the 1 minute chart, you do get maybe a possible setup here, but for me, this isn't even a real setup. I wouldn't actually have taken this after this bearish bar. So I would have missed this trade setup because it would have looked like possible reversal after the close outside a new high. So following the price action would be risky to take that trade on the 1 minute chart. On the 1 minute chart also here, the second entry long, you don't get a setup there. It's a bearish bar. You don't get a higher low, so neither one of these would be valid. So literally, you wouldn't be able to take any of these three trades on the 1 minute chart because the bars don't qualify, the setup doesn't qualify, and there's more nuance in the price action on the 2000 tick. You see there's more bars printed in that move. There's more transactions happening, and you can see the nuance in the movement of the price action. So you can see a new high, pullback, first attempt higher, pullback, second attempt higher with a strong bullish bar. So you get more price action info in the tick chart. And when you were watching this in real time, you would have saw this was a really decisive bar. I took this trade right here this morning. So hopefully that makes sense. And then on the 1 minute, the short over here, there is no short. There's a short here below this bar. So there's a first entry, second entry short below this bar. There's no like lower high type setup or anything there. On my chart, the setup was a little nicer because you actually have a pullback, first entry here, and then you get a decisive lower high with a really low risk. So I took this trade as well. And this was a really nice setup because on this chart, it's a six tick bar. So when I took this trade, I only had an 8 tick stop loss. If you took this trade on here, you'd have to take the riskier one, which is this bar, which is a 15 tick bar. So you'd have a 17 tick stop loss if you went short on the 1 minute chart. Whereas I only had an 8 tick stop loss on the 2000 tick. So anyway, I'm going to close out of the 1 minute chart because it's just going to get in the way now. But that was a way long-winded way of me answering that question. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions on that.